Incredible that he can say he's not ducking anyone minutes after pulling out against Darren Till. Like, you're literally actively ducking somebody.
Yo, what the fuck did John Fury yap on about earlier today?
This is a message to Logan Paul. I will fight you on the undercard.
Would it not be exactly like one of the Pauls to be fighting a grandfather? Is that not exactly on brand?
Hello and welcome back to Misfits News. I'm your host, Ben the Bane Davis. As always, joined by my co-host, Biel. The world of crossover boxing continues to be quite peculiar. So let's get into the latest and greatest updates. But before we talk about it all, Biel, how are you, sir?
And I'm doing great. And today we're actually joined by one of my favorite people, Riley, Roundhouse Radio. How are we doing today, sir?
What's up, boys? I'm back. I'm actually going to be here for every single episode moving forward. Just
new co-host,
you guys. Sorry. Not asking. I'm here. No, what's up, boys? What's up?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We've got a big episode ahead. 3 big topics. So let me run you through today's episode. Tommy Fury is calling out the Pauls. Slim leaves Misfits. And KSI press conference is scheduled later this year.
Oh, I can't wait to get into all that. Now, the big headline for this one, of course, Tommy Fury progressing to Instagram the other day and saying...
Right, so I've just woke up and seen Logan Paul talk on his podcast yet again about how I don't want to fight Jake and I'm running scared. I seen Jake tweeting the other day about how he offered me X, Y, and Z on Netflix. I just wanted to come in here and say that no one's running from that fight. I beat you once already. I handed you your first loss. The minute you stepped up and fought a real boxer, you lost, fair and square. I can give you a second loss, that's not a problem, but let's talk some serious numbers down the phone. If you want to get in touch, you know where I am. It's as easy as that. I can come back after a year and beat the pair of you.
He wants to fight Jake Paul. He wants to fight Logan Paul. I don't know what's going on. He's meant to be fighting in January against Darren Till. Guys, what's going on here?
Incredible that he can say he's not ducking anyone minutes after pulling out against Darren Till. Like, you're literally actively ducking somebody, and then you're going to say, well, I'm not ducking anybody. Dude, I'll fight literally anybody except for the guy that I was scheduled to fight, and we had this whole thing planned, and we're going to pay you way more money than you're actually worth to fight. And no, I won't duck anybody except for that guy, a guy who has almost zero boxing experience, who you should be a massive favorite to beat. It's like free money on the table, and he said, no, I don't want it.
I'd say the bigger curveball was John Fury. Biel, what the fuck did John Fury yap on about earlier today?
John Fury went to Instagram to call out none other than Logan Paul, the other brother of the Pauls, on the rematch of Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury undercard.
This is a message to Logan Paul. You keep going on about saying Tommy don't want to fight your brother. Here's one for you, my friend. He does want to fight your brother. And I'll tell you what else. I will fight you on the undercard.
I mean, one interesting call out. And Logan actually told him, he said, start training. So it looks like we might be seeing the highly anticipated fight between Logan Paul and John Fury.
Would it not be exactly like one of the Pauls to be fighting a grandfather? Is that not exactly on brand? Like, good to go. Let's do it. Yeah. In fact, I think that when John has his 70th birthday, that's when they should schedule that fight.
He's too young. He's too young right now. John
exactly.
Fury's not old enough to get one of the Paul brothers. But I would say in terms of like best next steps for one Tommy Fury, it would be doing everything in his fucking power to get back on this January 18th card in Manchester. It's your backyard. It's against a guy who has never really boxed before. Come on. But let's say that doesn't occur. Gang, let's say that is unfortunately no longer happening. What's next? Is it a Jake Paul fight? Riley, where does Tommy Fury go?
Well, there's your question, Ben, is where does Tommy Fury go? Where does he go? Does it make any sense anymore to fight any of these guys? You have to make arguments to be able to put yourself in the conversation against the biggest people in the space right now. Let's call a spade a spade. KSI and Jake Paul are two of the biggest names in boxing. Tommy Fury doesn't have some outlet to go somewhere else. He doesn't have the skill set or the ability to just get himself into a title shot in the next 2 years. He doesn't have these offers on the table that are flying out the wazoo. These things just simply aren't existing. He's standing on the back of two very, very close victories, a razor close victory against KSI. If you rewatch that fight, easily could have been called a draw. A close victory against Jake Paul. He was dominant in the fight, yes, but Jake is a different fighter now, and he got dropped. So where is he going here when he's not able to actually formulate a legitimate argument to be able to fight these guys at this level? Whereas the Darren Till fight, was the perfect argument to do that. Here is one of the biggest names in your home country fighting in their hometown. It's going to be huge locally and huge internationally. Misfits is absolutely skyrocketing right now, inarguably. Look at the freaking numbers we just pulled in Qatar. Look at the hype. Look at all the engagement. And you're going to walk away from that to do what? Unless MVP, unless Jake Paul has a freaking offer on the table for that kid, this doesn't make any sense. He has to come back. He has to save his own card. It's the only thing that he can do here. He has to come back and fight Darren Till, or else I don't care. I don't care to see the guy fight. Frankly, that's my full opinion here. Do you think, really, boys, really, do we actually think that KSI doesn't have any other options? KSI doesn't have any other options, can't fight anybody other than Tommy Fury. No, he can fight whoever the hell he wants to fight, and he can easily make an argument for a better opponent. That's my rant for the day. Sorry, I've been bottling that up for a week.
No, you're okay.
No, I think it's good. We need to get it out. I'm confused. Where does Tommy Fury go from here? Because I've even seen like throwbacks to interviews where he said, I'm going to be world champion. I'm going to be world champion in the cruiserweight division. And if it's a close fight against KSI, I'm retiring.
If KSI beats you, does this mean that your career as a contender in boxing is done?
What can I say? If likes of KSI is even giving me a competitive fight, let's say that.
Well, it was a close fight against KSI. He didn't retire. Then I even asked him the question when I interviewed him. I said, what about a fight with Vidal Riley? Vidal Riley's actually got a fight scheduled this weekend. Nowhere to be seen. They're in the same weight class. He's got the English title. He still doesn't want that fight. So I'm confused. Where does Tommy Fury go from here?
I wonder why. I do. I want to add that it's much more strange to me that all of this is occurring because, from my knowledge, he had withdrawn from some reality TV obligations and responsibilities for this fight on January 18th. So Tommy Fury had moved everything around scheduling wise to prioritize this fight camp and this opportunity to only then, out of nowhere, with no real reason, step out of that as well. So Riley, I agree with you. I'm not interested, frankly, in what Tommy Fury does next. That ship has sailed, and best of luck, T-Bone, but I'm not going to be tuning in. Biel, what do we got up next?
We got up next another slightly depressing topic. It looks like Slim might be moving on from Misfits Boxing, especially when there was a tweet between him and Mans stating technically one fight left on his contract, but I'm happy for Slim to fight elsewhere and enjoy the other options. After we saw he was offered Jose Aldo and our favorite Norige Guayat, it might be not happening on Misfits Boxing, unfortunately.
I have split opinions on this because Mams in the past has allowed Misfits fighters to test other waters and almost co-promote to some extent, which I love. I like that move. I think it's best for the fighter, best for their careers. But yeah, there was the undertone of, if he wants to fight elsewhere and enjoy other options, that's not suggesting that he would return and fulfill that one fight. So member of the small council, Riley, as you are, what are you thinking about this one? How do you weigh in on Slim's future?
Slim's the type of guy that I've always tried to root for 100%, and I've had things with him in the past where I was upset with his just the way he was operating. I just didn't really agree with it. And I spoke that publicly and I feel like we kind of settled our differences and then he's been an exciting member of the space, but I don't really understand what the thought process is. I think he's thinking that there's this magical space out there in the realm outside of Misfits that exists for him. And I think that, a lot of the confidence that we're seeing from Mams, and I'm just spitballing here. This is not due to insider information or anything like that. I'm really just spitballing. I think that Mams is just saying, go for it, because he's going to go out in that desert. And I don't think there's much out there, man. Like realistically, we've seen these other organizations try and fail. There's a reason that Misfits is the number one, period, inarguably, right? MVP is Jake Paul. Right? MVP is Jake Paul at this point. Of course, Amanda Serrano, of course, an amazing fighter in her own right. But that organization without him just dissipates. Whereas with Misfits, without KSI, it doesn't. It's still surviving and flourishing. The Qatar card proved that. So I'm very curious to see if he goes out and sees what these other options are. I mean, he's saying Jose Aldo, that fight doesn't make any sense. That fight doesn't make any sense. And then maybe we're gonna see him come right back.
Norige Guayat. You're forgetting an important name there.
Well, here's the thing. With Jose Aldo, who has existing commitments to the UFC is not interested in co-promoting or allowing their fighters to go out and box. Look at the Ngannou situation. So wipe that off the table. I'm not sure who planted this seed that Aldo versus Slim was a possibility, but I just wholeheartedly disagree that it can be something that happens. Niraj is more possible, but then of course that would mean he's hopping ship to MVP. And let's say he loses to Niraj, which is a very realistic possibility. I mean, as much as we joke about Goyat's ability, the kid's not the worst boxer in the world, right? And has a great win over Winterson now. So let's say Slim loses an MVP. What do you do then? Right, there is a future, like you were saying, Riley, within Misfits and an ecosystem that can support you for the next 18 to 36 months. And to depart that, especially after a main event and this big opportunity and this big stage that was provided, I agree. I'd look at that and go, that's kind of interesting decision making.
And it's also more than that. It's the idea that Misfits is the organization that provides the storylines. It provides this drama and the viewership and the ecosystem, like you said, Ben. I think that's a great word for it, because now Slim has to be the entire product, whereas at Misfits he is able to be integrated into a bigger product, right? So when he's the only product, that's what I'm curious to see is that going to sell the same way that he's been selling here in Misfits? And I think that's going to be a tough argument, because it might not translate when he goes over to MVP.
Yeah.
They just might not see the numbers for his fights that they've been seeing in Misfits, because, like I said, there's so much more that goes on. I mean, credit to everybody that works at Misfits. There is so much extra work behind the scenes that people just don't even acknowledge that goes into making these, not only making these professional bouts, but making people interested in seeing these professional bouts. That is I think, going to be the key here that could be different. And there's a reason that Mams is so confident. There's a reason that Mams is so confident. And I think that I agree with his assessment there. And if Slim wants to go test those waters, realistically, we will be just fine without him, but we would love to also have him.
I think there's an argument to be had as well, especially when it comes to Slim and what he wants to do with his career. If he goes to MVP looks like they're taking much more that professional route right now. All the fighters that go on there, apart from that Wunderson-Nunes, even that Wunderson-Nunes fight was more of a professional fight as well. Does Slim want to go in there with the Sharks and go take his career into professional after taking a loss against Anison Gibb as well? Or does he want to stay at Misfits, build his name up against some other crossover boxers, and then eventually go up against, once again, a professional boxer? And as you say, with the storylines there. So I think it really depends where Slim's mentality is and what he wants to do going forwards. But if the relationship isn't healthy anymore, then it doesn't make sense to continue at this promotion.
And I want to kind of echo off of Riley said. We can all opinionate and speculate on the quality of the relationship. I personally think it's fine, but again, it's what Slim's interested in. And so ultimately, whatever that decision is, hey, Slim, want what's best for you. We'll always support you and wish you the best in your career and decision making. But we'd want to see that here, man. You're our buddy. We don't want to see you go across the pond. But either way, we'll see what happens with the future of One Hit Man. Next thing up is the KSI press conference before Christmas. I don't know about this one. I have some good knowledge that this is not happening. In fact, the press conference to announce KSI's next opponent is in all likelihood going to take place during that fight week for X Series 20. Riley, that's kind of at least what I'm hearing.
I love that idea. I think that's a great idea. There just isn't enough. There isn't enough. Not that there isn't enough hype around it. Of course, there's going to be a ton of hype around it. I think that there's just going to be way more hype around it when we're also being able to simultaneously be able to show, look, we have this awesome event. Obviously, ideally, that event gets resolved. All of the alternatives I'm hearing are also super exciting. So I really think we're going to be just fine without Mr. Tommy Fury, assuming he actually is being honest here and is pulling out of this fight, which, again, I hope isn't the case. But assuming that is the case, then the alternatives are awesome. So I'm not too worried about that. And I think that if we can blend that together, I think that would just be awesome, because you love when there's hype and then fights, right? So it's like if there's just hype now, we do this awesome press conference and everyone's like, let's go. And then you have to wait 3 weeks before you see somebody get knocked out. It's just not as awesome, whereas if we get that presser and then fights and all that, I love that idea.
When that's Biel, we've got the obvious fight week activities and activations, the press conferences, ceremony weigh-ins. We also have the Misfits Boxing Awards that will be taking place that week. So tacking on the KSI announcement, this will be a smorgasbord of crossover fun, I think, for X Series 20.
Absolutely. I think if we were to do it next week or the week after, it could potentially take away from that Misfits 20 fight week. So if you have it during the fight week, if anything, it's adding to it. Like you guys are saying, it's adding that hype. And then we're only a few weeks away and we see then KSI back into the ring, which is so anticipated. And I saw something in the small cancel that was interesting. KSI doing 8 rounds. I believe that will be the first time he would do 8 rounds if his opponent agrees to it. Guys, what do you make of that? He's stepping up the game now. This year, it looks like he's taking his boxing really seriously.
Gib and Slim set the standard there. It's got to be 8 rounds. You want to be big, it's got to be 8 rounds. I think that that's the right move. He's now taking the time. He's been patient with building up his career. But like he showed with Tommy Fury, it's time to start taking risks. I think that's what we see from him from now on. You know, we're not doing any, I don't even remember his Fournier. I don't remember his first name. That's crazy.
Joe Fournier.
Joe Fournier.
I'll believe you. I'll believe you. I'll believe you. I know his last name was Fournier, right? You know what I'm saying? Like we need these big fights now moving forward. We need the risk to be there. We have to be able to look at this opponent and be like, this guy's gonna lose. I don't even know who it is yet, which is driving me crazy. But I think I'm confident that it's gonna be 8 rounds, exciting, action packed, and I'm buzzing to see that because KSI always still talks about going back and revisiting that Tommy Fury fight and establishing that. We still talk about Jake Paul. I think that's us. I think we're the ones yelling Jake Paul from the rooftops because we want to see it so bad. I don't even know if that's the fight that's going to happen. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I know that whatever he decides to do is going to be exhilarating because, I mean, we don't miss lately. Boys, do we miss lately? Last bad event,
I haven't seen any misses.
13 or whatever. Like, I don't even know.
The Nashville one?
Like,
yeah,
whatever. Doesn't matter. Like, it's been pinpoint lately. It has.
I agree. And to echo that point with JJ sort of having that close fight with Tommy Fury, inside his mind, he's probably thinking, man, if only I had 2 more rounds, if only I had some more time on the clock to make this either more decisive or to, come up short in a more legitimate way. So I think for him, because of how good of an athlete he is, 8 rounds for sure. And honestly, let me extend this even further. Any main event in Misfits, if you are at the top of the card, you are last fight billing 8 rounds or more. That's the standard now. Like you said, it's been set by a Nissan Gib and Slim the Hitman. I think if you want to be a Misfits main eventer, you better have some good stamina and cardio because I just don't want these fight nights ending with anticlimactic 4-round affairs where you go, that was quick, that was unpleasant. I want those 8-round wars. I want the battles to close things out. So for 2025, in terms, Christmas list, 2025, I want 8-round main events. Boom. That's the standard. Biel, what's on your Misfits 2025 Christmas list?
I want to see Misfits MMA. I think that's been something that's spoken about for so long. It's been hinted at. I think there's some great candidates for it as well. And I'd love to see my last thing on the list, Deji versus Wasabi. I know Deji just announced his retirement, but for me, I think that's a fight that's been built up for so long. It's one with a storyline, and I think it's a really well-matched fight. How about you, Ben? What's on your Christmas list? And then I'm going to go to you, Riley.
So my X Series 2025 Christmas list is, firstly, I'm going to just echo and repeat, 8-round main events. You want that top spot? You better be able to have some good cardio. I think secondly is, what would I want? I think a Misfits event in LA. I think we put X Series in LA, the home of so many of these influencers, where that is kind of the atmosphere that I think would work best for us during a fight week, or talent wise, LA would make so much sense. And then third, a win on X Series for Ben the Bane Davis. I want one more fight, and it's going to be later in the year. I've got some obligations, but I want to get back in there on that ring and get my hand raised.
Let's go, champ. Ben the Bane Davis. Ready to fight again, dog. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Riley, what's your Christmas list? Name it.
First things first, my first one is a win for Ben the Bane Davis. First off, in Misfits. Let's go. Also, I want to see KSI fight more than once. I would love 2 fights from him, 3 fights if I'm lucky. I don't know if that's realistic, but 2 fights
10
for
fights.
Sure. Yeah, fight every month. No, but 2 fights for sure. And then I agree with you, Biel. I think that I want to see Gib again. That really excites me. I want to see him back in the ring. I love seeing him fight. And I would love to see Misfits. I don't know about full-blown MMA, but MMA kicks. I want to see kicks. I want to see guys throwing elbows and kicks. I think
maybe
awesome.
Muay Thai. Misfits Muay Thai.
Yeah, like Thai rules or kickboxing rules or like what they're doing over in like karate combat and stuff like that, where you can get a guy down to the ground, throw 1 or 2. But people don't love seeing the grappling, especially not at mid-tier level. And that's just such an expansive skill set now. Now we're a pro MMA organization. And that kind of steals a little bit of the love that I have for the space sometimes, where I love what we're doing here, man. It's so special. I mean, nobody else can do like a Wade Plem walkout where it's building stories like that. Like nobody else gets the opportunities to do that.
I want to go further with that. I know we're closing out here. So last point is if Misfits and Karate Combat co-promote and create an event where it's this either one-off or two-off type nights where it is a blended rule set. And we do have our Misfits roster that will grace those waters. I know KC has the Influencer Fight Club, so there is all the reason in the world why we can't make this happen. Who knows where it would be streamed, if it would be DAZN or through Karate Combat's channels. But the way that I look at it is instead of creating this whole other branch and exhausting resources to now simultaneously run two things, how about we focus on having two fun nights where both Karate Combat and Misfits come together as both established brands. We do a little roster versus roster. They're influencer guys versus our boxers that are now adding in some other elements. I think, to me, that would, yes, be the best case scenario. But either way, it doesn't matter what we think, baby. It's what the decision makers think. I will say it's been an amazing episode. All the news, the latest coverage of combat sports. Make sure you can't miss it next episode. Like, subscribe for BL, for our guy, Riley Osborne. I've been your host, Ben the Bane Davis. We'll see you in the next episode. Did I tell you that I mentioned the Costco guys again at a bar and the people didn't know who I was talking about? This has happened three different times. No, come on.
Do you not know the Costco guys?
I don't.
You are
the boom.
My
the
fucking
boom.
shame. You don't know Big Justice and AJ? You don't know the Rizzler? You don't know the Rizzler? They were just on
Ben,
AEW.
No, listen.
They were just on Backlash.
Listen, Ben. There's this crazy thing I do during the week. It's called go outside. Okay, I go outside and I touch the grass and I smell the air and I don't watch things about the Rizzler at Costco. That's like not how my Monday works.
All right, fine. It's not like he went on Jimmy Fallon or anything.
Did he go on Jimmy Fallon?
Yes.
Is that little kid? Is that little kid?
Yeah. It's the fat kid that does like that one.
God. Oh,
that's the Rizzler, bro. That's the fucking Rizzler. You just got rizzed.
That's actually unbelievable. That's unbelievable. He went on Jimmy Fallon.